Hey, good morning, making moves, folks. Welcome to another week of Tim and Tim at 10. Obviously, there's only one Tim this week. So, our man, Mr. Vitale, is still out getting used to being a dad and helping his wonderful wife, Danielle, with their newborn, Coral. So, best wishes to Tim and Danielle and Coral, and we'll see Vitale back on this soon enough. So,
Yeah.
but today we do have a wonderful guest. You've probably seen her before, and like I said in my intro, if you've been following social media at all, you've probably come across Nicole a couple of times. So,
Maybe.
Nicole, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm good, Tim. I'm really happy to be here. I obviously filling in for Vitali, but it's a good reason to be out to be a dad and have a new baby girl at home. So that's super
Yeah,
exciting. So I'm
yeah, I
happy to be
can't.
here.
Yeah, well, welcome and thanks for joining. I can't wait to hear his story about how it all went down. It sounds like it was a rather interesting few days. So
I bet. You know what too is like being a new parent, everything's brand new, right? So it all
yeah,
feels like this wild roller coaster that you're on and you're just like hanging on for dear life to try to survive. So he's
yeah.
probably feeling that right now.
Oh man, I don't know. You have two, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I remember when they sent us home with our daughter. I'm driving home going. I mean,
What do I do
like,
with this little
like
thing now?
is this like trial and error? I mean,
Well,
but
I'd
she's
say you've done a good job. Very good job with
yeah.
her.
So yeah, she's almost 16 this weekend, and she's
Easy.
still kicking and screaming. So I guess we're doing okay.
That's awesome.
So, but anyway, so Nicole, last time you were on, uh, you were kind of like, you were doing some stuff in the multifamily space. Sorry,
Mhm,
you had we had talked about a rather challenging single family, right? That
mhm. Yeah,
that you had gone through with really, really, really kind of bad GC, if you will.
yeah.
And what's funny, guys, is it's not funny. It's interesting. Is shortly after that, I had a really bad issue with a GC as well, and Nicole and I got to share war stories on that. But Nicole's made a little bit of a pivot. She hasn't moved away from multifamily. She's still got her single family, right?
Mhm. Yes, yeah,
Um,
still have that.
but she's also taken on something else close by. Nicole, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've jumped into in the last year?
Yeah, absolutely. So for a while, I'd say probably over a year, I had been underwriting in the Galveston market for a beach house, trying to get into short-term rentals, Airbnb, that sort of thing, and just nothing was popping up. Like it was crazy to see how the numbers were just so far off, and it was
Yeah,
mainly due to insurance and especially coastal insurance, as well as property taxes. Here in
right.
Texas we don't have a state income tax, but they get us at the property tax level.
Yeah,
So just nothing was working out. So did a little pivot, switched into Houston, which is much more local to where I am, and found a brand new build single family home and got into the short term rental side of things. So got that up on Airbnb, on booking.com, VRBO, a few, OTA platforms. And yeah, just been learning more of the hospitality side of things for the short-term rental side. So yeah.
it's really cool how you kind of like start in one place and you end up in another. Um, just to share like a and somebody here saying smart move. So not sure who Facebook user is, but I'm sure she appreciates that.
Yeah.
Um, So, I I looked at the short term rental stuff for a little bit. One thing, my wife was asking me how she could get involved with the business, and I was like, well, I wouldn't mind expanding into STRs a little bit.
Mhm.
So we started looking at beach property as well,
Yeah.
down towards the coast of the Carolinas, and same thing. I was like, I don't know how people make these numbers work.
Yeah.
I was like, it just doesn't make sense. And and then I was talking to a guy in GoBundance,
Mhm.
this group that I'm in, and he was talking about, man, I'm crushing it in Charlotte.
Okay.
I was like, and I just, for whatever reason, I'm like, short term rentals in Charlotte, which is crazy to me because when I travel, I will
Yeah.
look for STRs or Airbnbs,
Yeah.
just in cities, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, but it never dawned on me that Charlotte would be a place where somebody would want an Airbnb for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then I realized, wait a minute, I also have like the largest lake in North Carolina, which is a big recreational lake, literally steps outside my back door. I'm like, I wonder if people rent properties on the lake, and sure as hell they do.
Yeah.
And they do really, really, really well. Like the prices per week in the summer at the lake here exceed some of the coastal properties I was looking at.
You know, I'm
Um,
I'm I'm not surprised by that too, just because when you are in Charlotte and you're on the lake, you are around everything, right?
right,
Some of the areas that I was looking at that were closer out, Galveston, Crystal Beach area, you're not around anything. Like,
right,
you are in kind of a little beach town, and there's not that much in terms of like shopping and stores, things to do. So Charlotte having that beach and then the house
yeah.
there, or I guess the lake, right? There as well. That's a huge advantage because they're around everything else too. So I could see that. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was just interesting. It's interesting to hear, you talk about kind of like coming into the Houston market. So,
Yeah.
like what kind of renters are you seeing typically? I mean, is it workers? Is it folks coming in for holidays? What is it?
Yeah, honestly, it's funny. I think because Houston's such a huge city, I'm seeing a little bit of everything. We've got like concerts, so I've had guests booking for the Beyonce and Drake concert that happened last year. I have workers, so people that are coming in for work and they're here for 3, 4, 5 nights. Had some bookings like that, solo travelers. My last, probably not this last guest that came in because they were here to visit family, but the guest before that, I had about 5 in a row that came with families, so they were just visiting other family, and
Yeah.
lots of birthdays as well. Like, honestly, you see a little bit of everything, and I think because the location of my STR is right close to downtown, next to a lot of the sports stadiums that are less than 10 minutes away.
Right.
I'm kind of capturing a little bit of everything, to be honest.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize you were that well located. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's in an area that's still gentrifying. So, we've got I do make sure that people know that in the listing that it's like up and coming area.
yeah.
But I mean, we've got 3 houses, or sorry, no, there's two, three. We've got 5 brand new houses that are coming up on our street right now. So as there's that just kind of goes to show for the area transitioning and what's really to come. So
Yeah.
gotten a little early.
Yeah, and, hey, early can be good, right?
Yeah, not too early where I'm the first one that's like, and people are scared.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, no, we're a group of 6 brand new, like new construction houses all in a row. So that also kind of gives people a peace of mind as well. So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
can't complain.
fun it's funny that you mentioned that. 20 years ago here in Charlotte, uptown Charlotte's very different today than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, but, a buddy of mine that I was working with bought a condo in one of the, like, early neighborhoods near uptown Charlotte that was transitioning, and, he comes to work one day in a completely different car, like a not a very nice car,
Right.
and I'm like, "What happened to your car?" And he's like, "Man, it has been stolen so many times, I'm just sick of it." He goes, "I just went and bought this thing," and I'm like, "Nobody's gonna steal this, right?"
Yeah, yeah. Oh my
And it
gosh.
and it was because he had moved into an area that was like he was way early, right?
Yeah.
And he did very well, by the way, because that place now is like, I mean, there's like multi-million-dollar condos down there now.
Yeah.
Um, so he
That's
did he did quite well.
That's
Um,
awesome. Well, yeah.
but yeah,
Well, for anyone that's looking, it's not that new.
so guys, from time to time, Nicole will share with me like a review. Uh,
Oh, God.
she's laughing because there's some interesting ones. She'll uh,
Oh,
she'll share
gosh.
with me a review, and you don't have to get too far into it if you don't want to, Nicole. But some of them are rather comical.
Yeah.
So like,
I
what's what's been your experience with tenants, with customers, reviews, stuff like that? Like,
So, I had a recent one on Airbnb. It actually got taken down because it was just it the stars that they gave me were just it was very interesting. So it was a guest that had come in. She messaged me a couple hours before they were due to check in, and asked me if there was TVs in all of the bedrooms. And I was like, no, the listing doesn't show that either. There's just one in the living room. And She goes, "Oh man, like I wish I would have noticed that." And I'm like, "Okay, like sorry, like what do you say to that, right? Like I'm sorry you didn't read the listing nor look at any of the pictures, but
Right.
anyway, so I'm like, "Oh, and I gave her a recommendation, not getting like too far into it, but give her a recommendation on some other equipment that I had in the house that she could use, right? So fast forward, everything's fine. Like she has a great stay. And as soon as the little alert thing pops up on Airbnb that you can give a review, I see a message pop up that she gave me a review. So I was like,
Hmm.
oh, that was really quick. I wonder what this one's going to be. Could be good, bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the review was super short, but it was like, it started off, said, Nicole is awesome. And there was a bunch of exclamation marks. And then she goes, but there was only one TV in this entire house. She's like, and what do you do with one TV? She goes, I was traveling with kids. So when you're staying at a house with one TV, and she had all these emoji exclamation marks, it leads to like it being very boring or something like that. Now, mind you, Tim, you know how much I love to read, right?
Yeah.
So I have been building a library at the house. So there's got to be at least, I'd say, maybe like 60, 70 books at this
Oh,
point.
wow.
And even for kids too. So there's like children's books, there's adults. I have a speaker for, people to enjoy music. And I have tons of games, tons of board games and things like that, right? So plenty to do
Right.
if you don't have a TV in every bedroom. Um, but yeah, this lady, she gave me pretty much 4 and 5, actually 4.5, 5 stars on every category. And at the end, she gave me a 3, which
No.
like a 3 in
Yeah.
Airbnb world is like, you need to be delisted. This is
Yeah.
a terrible listing, da da da. So I ended up contacting Airbnb. They removed it pretty much right away for me and just said, yeah, like this review on this one TV and 3 stars like doesn't give enough value to people looking to book. So got that one taken off. But yeah, and that hurts too. A 3 stars, you're digging out of that for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So
Like, you probably wouldn't even show up on my filters if I was searching for a spot, because
no,
yeah.
exactly. And here's the thing too is I actually I wasn't sure. I was like the review itself would have been fine because now I don't have just one TV. I got a few reviews or private feedback that mentioned TVs in the bedrooms. So actually last week I put 2 more TVs in the house. So now I don't have to worry about that, taking the reviews into consideration.
Right.
But 3 stars and you're trying to get maybe superhost status where you have to be at 4.8, you're digging out of that for a long time. And
Yeah, for sure.
people might read the review, but again, like you said, you're not going to show up in the algorithm. If you got rated a 3, you're pretty far down there. So
Yeah.
yeah, was happy to get rid of that one.
Yeah, I hear you for sure. And it's funny you talk about like, did you not read or look at the pictures? Because I mean, I don't know how you are, but when I'm traveling, pay to pay to go on vacation and watch TV, I actually had that thought as
Right.
well. I actually had that same thought. Um, so
That's why I was so confused by that. I was like, and I never thought to add extra TVs in all these other places because the point of going on vacation is to spend time with your loved ones. So we don't have TVs in every room in our
yeah,
house. So I thought, oh, well, this makes sense not to do that. Apparently, I'm wrong. I've had like 4 reviews of people saying, like, it was awesome. And there's 10 stars or 5 stars that they're giving, but there could be like a couple more TVs. I'm like, all right, fine. You guys win.
yeah, I can appreciate it to some extent. Like, when we travel, we're gone all day. We go
Yeah.
all day. We leave in the mornings. We go do stuff. We're out and about all day long. And in the evenings, you're hanging out, lay down in bed. And, I'll flip on the TV and just fall asleep to something, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm bad about that, but it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me for sure. Um,
Right.
but
Wouldn't be
it
something
but
I left in a review.
right, right, for sure. Plus, it's like I have my phone. Who doesn't have their phone, right?
Yes,
Um, but
exactly.
it's interesting that you're talking about the descriptions and the pictures because I gotta admit, guys, that like I'm probably a little over OCD about it. But I
Mhm.
will even as far as like, do I need to buy K cups or bring coffee and filters? I'll actually
Yeah.
look for pictures like in the kitchen to try to see what you have in the kitchen to make coffee, right?
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
That's pretty
because
cool. Well, I've got a picture of the actual coffee machine and all of the pods and stuff as well.
there you
So that would help you out, Tim, in case you
Yeah, it
ever
would.
were
That's great. See, I would stay at your place for sure. Um, so speaking of reviews, and things like that. So, as you've gone through this, what are some of the things that you've kind of learned from your reviews? You already mentioned, adding TVs.
Mhm.
What are some things that you've learned from your reviews that have made you tweak kind of like your property or what you offer, things like that?
Yeah. Well, so so definitely, well, we already mentioned the TVs, but I've had people also make comments about the books that they enjoyed that or the games. So I've been basically adding to that as well, just to give a little bit more options in terms of the stays. When I see that I've got quite a few bookings for like say 4 nights over the holidays, what I've done is made sure that my kitchen is like fully stocked down to like can opener, veggie peeler, baking sheets, like
Mm,
all of the things that you would need to create or to make a large meal for a big group of people. That is, I've thought of everything for the kitchen. So I've actually had that in my reviews as well as like, oh, Nicole had
yeah.
a fully equipped kitchen because I know when I've traveled before and I don't have like the right spices. I even have hot sauce, Tim, because I learned that from staying in Colorado
Which kind?
and Louisiana hot sauce,
Oh, okay.
and we stayed there, and I was like, oh man, like I had we had bought some seasonings and whatnot to bring because we were there for 4 nights, and I was like, but they didn't have hot sauce. So the first thing I did when I came back was go buy hot sauce. It's like it's so funny. You don't think of these things, but they are the little details that you really don't know until you've experienced
Yeah.
that make a huge difference in the experience for your guest. So between that, I would say, what were some of the other things that I've done? Trying to remember. I guess kind of just learning, honestly, just learning from whatever I can pick up from the review is
Yeah.
something that I can implement. That's fairly easy. I'll definitely do it. I also have had like quite a few reviews too, where they just say like Nicole's super friendly, or I try to understand that this is a hospitality business, and as much as it's for us, where we're like, oh, this is real estate because our mortgages are being paid by our guests that are coming to stay and all of our expenses and whatnot. I'm also learning too that in order for you to excel in this business, you have to be hospitable. You can't be a crappy
Yeah.
host
Yeah.
or not respond to your guests or not be very accommodating. That's just not how you're going to excel in this business. So I've kind of pushed a little bit of it's not an ego or anything like that, but I've kind of pushed that part aside where I'm like, oh, this is my home, to it is my home, but I'm sharing it with someone else. So I have to think of my guest and how they would respond should I be in their shoes.
Yeah, no, and I think that's huge, right? Because I mean, let's be honest, like the STR space, Airbnb, Verbo, it's exploded.
Hmm.
No, and there's still a lot of room to grow, but it used to be you could just throw one up, right?
Yeah.
And it would rent. But now you're really having to differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I I follow you. Another person that I follow quite a bit is Dia Lu.
Mhm.
She does phenomenal stuff with her properties. Just little attentions to details, just like the
Yeah.
smallest little piece of like um, wallpaper or something like that that just really makes the property pop.
Yeah.
Um, she's phenomenal at that. So, watching what you guys do, it's amazing because I don't have that kind of eye. I really
Mhm.
don't. And I'm like, man, I would never think to do that, but that place looks awesome, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like even right now behind you, like I would have never thought to surround my picture with like, you know, with green, right? Green
Right.
foliage, right? But it looks great.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and too, like one of my other passions as well is interior design, and I love the decorating aspect as well.
yeah,
So it's been really really fun for me, and as a basically an ongoing project to be in the house and really trying to make it, kind of that home away from home experience.
Yeah.
So I really just kind of put myself in again, like in the guest shoes and seeing, okay, if I was traveling with my family, what's something that I could really, really make use of? Or what's something that would be like super cool that I would like to see? And I've got a bunch of neon signs in my house and a mural in the living room that people can, take pictures with and things like that. So it's fun. It's good. But again, it is that attention to detail and it's that layering and
Yeah.
it never feels perfect. It's always a work in progress.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So I'm gonna write something down real quick because
Yeah.
I nobody will believe me if I get it right. I may get it wrong. So I'm gonna write something down here real quick.
Okay.
Um, and then I'm gonna ask you a question, and here it is. Um,
Okay.
so of of all the things that you do, what's been probably one of your most frustrating things that you've had to deal with in the Airbnb space as you've gone through it? What's something that you've had to deal with that's been very frustrating?
Uh, Very difficult guests that are not appreciative of anything really.
Bro.
There's just sometimes there's just guests that come that are just nothing that you can say or do can make them happy. And I only had one that was like that, and I think you know which one that was.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So here's what I was thinking. I was thinking cleaners.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I was thinking like in terms of like
Maybe I didn't
actually
phrase the
the
question.
hospitality side, but the business side, yes.
Yeah,
I've been through 4 already, Tim.
yeah,
4.
yeah.
4. How are
And
you?
guys, the reason I said that is because Nicole made a comment to me a couple of weeks ago. She was like, "I can't believe how many cleaners I've been through."
Yeah, see, that's why it took so long for me to respond yesterday to text because I was freaking cleaning my unit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
And then guys, like something that I probably should have asked earlier on is you self-manage, right?
yes. Mhm.
You self-manage. You I mean, you're pretty much there between every guest, are you not?
Absolutely, yeah. Even when I had my cleaners that went in and they were cleaning the unit, I would go in after them, say like the next day, or within a couple of days of them having been there, and I quality control. So I'm checking counters, I'm checking sheets, I am checking the towels, cleaning the stairs has been like my pet peeve because I actually like to vacuum those because I don't like to see one piece of hair anywhere in the house. And that's tough when you get a lot of guests that have a lot of hair. So yeah, it's definitely been that. But I will say I did find a good cleaner. However, what I've noticed too is that like after a few good cleaners, they or good cleanings, they'll just drop the ball. Like they just start to get a little
Mhm.
bit complacent and they stop lifting things up to clean underneath and they miss little details. And that's when I know, okay, I can't just let them go. I gotta go in behind them. And it's just
Yeah.
part of the business.
Yeah, yeah. That's and it sounds like you're running into what everybody else is running into. And then I know a guy in GoBundance who runs a management business for STR. And that was one of the things he told me early on when I was considering it on my side is he was like, he goes, just plan to go through like 3 cleaners in your first 6 months.
Yeah.
He was like, it'll happen. Just plan on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and honestly, Nicole, that's one of the reasons I kind of backed off is I was like, "Ah, I don't want to deal with that. I'm
Yeah.
I already deal with issues with general contractors all the time. I don't
Uh,
want to, I don't want
I
to be dealing with cleaners."
exactly. It's definitely it definitely is the toughest part of the business. I will say that. Just because like cleaning, you have to have a clean unit. Like that is
For sure.
huge. There's even I think a filter on probably the guest side where you can filter on like properties that have 5 stars for cleaning. They it's just I don't know. It's one thing for me too. I'm a very nitpicky type person when it comes to stuff like that. And I don't know, maybe it is a little bit of like an OCD thing, but if I'm going to stay at a property and I climb in that bed and there are hairs, places, or different things or stains, no, no. So
Yeah.
I just think I'm always constantly putting myself in the shoes of the guest. What would I like to see? What would scare me away? What would tell me like, okay, no, reaching out to this host, this is a no go. And so far, so good. But it has been a lot of work. I will say that. More work than I thought.
Yeah, and that's something I give you credit for. Guys, if you don't know, man, Nicole's like she's heads down. She will step in and do whatever you got to do. And that's I mean, whether it's STR or multifamily or flips or whatever, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to share too much, but she recently took a trip somewhere. It was like an overnight with some friends and her husband um and she's like texting me the next day and she's like, "Yeah, I got to get back and get on my property." What you were like cleaning in between a tenant or something like that. But she's literally coming back from basically an overnight, you know, adults night out or whatever to get
Mhm.
back and clean her unit in between tenants.
Yeah, I actually got off the plane that night, and it was I think 10, about 10 o'clock. I've done that, yeah, from Colorado actually that time, and then that time actually the guest ended up extending their stay, so that saved me from having to get off the plane and go straight there. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's not uncommon for me to leave my property at midnight because I've been cleaning and trying to get it ready for the next guest, especially with tight turns. But I will say too, and this is maybe a piece of advice for those who might be nitpicky like me and really want to focus on a good guest experience in terms of cleanliness, is I never do same day check-ins ever, ever, ever. I do see people doing them just so they can maximize their occupancy and maximize try to maximize the amount of money that they're bringing in. But it's never a good thing if you can't get there in between that time and
Right.
you drop the ball somewhere just for an extra few $100s. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, but
No, for
I'm good.
sure. So somebody has a question for you here. I don't know if you can
Oh
see
yeah.
it. So, are you planning to brand outside the platform?
Yes. So I actually have, I started an Instagram account for my short term rental. I actually started a new one because I didn't want to tie Wicked Holdings to this and have too much of myself out there. So,
Right.
but yeah, no, I'm definitely doing that. I have one person that focuses on the social media channel for Instagram, who does reels and does marketing for different brands that in that area, because Instagram's not really my channel. I don't like to hang out too much on there, and I don't know like really what's popping, I guess, on there. So yeah, I plan to brand, but I'm gonna have someone kind of help me out with that, just creating a little bit more for my STR channel.
Yeah. So it's interesting someone brought that up because I will say that I almost bought a portfolio of STRs from a couple of guys in the Charlotte area.
Mhm.
And I got to be honest, I wasn't interested in them from the STR side. We were
Yeah.
going to run them that way. I was more interested in for the location. They were incredible properties in some of the best locations in Charlotte,
Yeah.
prime neighborhoods, things like that. And I wanted it for that by itself alone. But then I went and visited the properties, and they were amazing.
Mhm.
They had done so many, kind of like you and Dia. They had done so many little attention to detail pieces. Like they had all the art was from local artists. They had
Mhm.
procured from local artists. It was all one of a kind art. They did little things like they left pasta sauce, pasta, and wine at check in because they were like, we find that most of our people when they check in, they don't want to have to go anywhere, so it's an
Yeah.
easy, quick meal the day they check in. They had custom art built for each one of their units that showed it was like a map of Charlotte, a custom map of Charlotte, but it showed everything, all the restaurants within walking distance of the property on the map.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Very
it
cool.
was it was right by the door, so you could just be like, "Where you want to walk over here?" So it was really cool. And then what I found out was they were getting like 90+% of their bookings outside of the platforms. They had built
Oh,
their own website, and they were literally almost everything was coming through their website now.
yeah.
And then they were getting requests from people of, "Hey, I like your property here. I'm gonna be here. Do you have a property?"
Mhm.
So they were starting to realize, "Oh, we can use those requests to figure out where we want to buy more property." Um,
Yeah. Actually,
so it was really
that's
interesting.
yeah, that's really cool. I actually had a guest too once that asked me if I had a property in another specific area, because the one that I had, he was basically trying to find somewhere that they could meet in the middle with him and his family,
Mhm.
and it was just a little bit. It was actually in Third Ward, which is funny because I do have property there, but it's not. There's no house on it yet. So I was like, huh, that might actually be a good place to kind of look and see. But that's interesting that they did the map because I have a guidebook that has all of the things that you can do in that area. I chose specifically like, less than 10 minutes to try to get to
Right.
these restaurants and bars and things like that. But I never considered like putting that on a map and maybe having like little pins or something because that would be really cool.
Yeah, I never had either. Because I'm the same thing. I'm used to going to places and then just being like a little book and you read the book.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. It was just this little, it was probably that big,
Yeah.
like about the size of the picture behind you, and it was by the door, and it had a map, and then just like the name of the restaurant and 5-minute walk, name of the restaurant, 7-minute walk, that kind of thing.
That's
I'm
so
like,
cool.
that's really cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to figure out how I can do something like that. But
Yeah,
I like too that he did the pasta and everything because that's one thing that I learned. I used to leave wine and snacks for my guests. However, in the reviews, I never had anything mentioned about the wine ever. But
yeah,
I did have about the snacks, and every single time I would go in, most times they would drink the wine. There was maybe like two or three guests that didn't, but the snacks were always gone.
right.
So and now what I've done is pivoted and I don't leave the wine anymore, but I leave like way better snacks and more like of a snack basket and different things
Yeah,
like that. So it's just
yeah.
kind
But
of
I would
noticing,
appreciate
right?
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
that.
Well, exactly. And when you're traveling with kids, like what kid's not going to immediately, as soon as that door opens, Mama or Daddy, I'm
Right,
hungry. And it's like, ah, crap, now I gotta go to the store. Well, no,
right.
now there's a basket and you've got something for your kids too.
Yeah, 100%. So, and nobody likes to make that run to the store the day they move in or to check in or whatever. That's no.
Yeah, no.
So,
Well,
well, well, hey, we're coming up on time, but real quick, so any like words of advice, words of wisdom to people maybe starting out, like as you were starting out, what's something you have learned or wish you would have learned that would have made it easier for you?
the cleaners. No, I'm just kidding. Well, that actually would have been nice because then I would have actually gone through and made like a running list of who I could potentially use before I actually needed them. But no, in terms of like getting started and something that I wish I would have known, um, definitely the time it takes to find a good property. Like
Mhm.
right now, you obviously don't want to try to force a deal, and especially with interest rates still being very elevated and your price point as well being quite high too. The purchase, all the prices of homes, it's tough to find a deal that works right now in the short-term rental space because of those two things, right? Because people right now are focusing more on affordability rather than spending gobs and gobs of money in order to go on vacation. So you have to just keep that in mind. So just be conservative in your underwriting, for especially for ADRs. Don't push the limit there, especially when you're starting out. I've got all these things now in my head, Tim, because you just opened up a can
Sure.
of worms, and now.
Oh, well, maybe we can just have you back on and we'll talk about, hey,
Yeah, I could
here's the
share all this.
go-tos when you're starting, right?
Yeah, yeah, I can share all of that stuff. But so I have lots of ideas, but that would be the biggest thing is like don't force a deal. Like the right one will come when it's time for you to take that leap because it is a lot of work if you are self-managing and
Yeah,
you don't have property management or anything like that on it. So just take your time, be conservative with your numbers, and make sure that is really what you want, especially because it is very active.
right, right. All right. Well, Nicole, thanks for coming on. We're kind of at the end of the time today. So folks,
Yeah.
Nicole, how can if folks want to connect with you, how can they get in touch?
Yeah, probably the easiest way is just on LinkedIn. My name is right here on my screen, but yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm there pretty much 5 days a week, and my Instagram is Wicked Holdings LLC. If you'd like to follow me there as well.
All right. Well, Nicole, thanks for coming on, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be talking soon. So
Okay.
folks,
Thanks
connect
for
with
having
Nicole,
me.
follow her on social media for sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right.
All right.
Thanks, Tim.
See you guys.
Bye.